Two rounds remain in the RaceSpot TV Formula Renault SimCup as we welcome you to RaceSpot Race Day here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. 2 rounds to go, and it's now time for the drivers to really think about earning their money in this series. We'll then soon be handing over to Paul Smith and Jonathan Simone in just 1 moment's time. Sorry about that. 25 minutes worth of racing here today, Paul, from the famous Nurburgring.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic circuit to be racing at. And, well, it's going to be a really interesting race here. These guys are going to be absolutely on the limit all the way around this circuit. And, well, Jonathan, you've had a chance to race around this circuit. What's the unique challenges of this Grand Prix layout?
Yeah, it's an interesting circuit, the Nurburgring. It's very narrow, that you got to be precise, and no margin for error, really. And I think braking's a big key too, especially heading into turn 1. And it's so easy to run wide and run deep into there, and you can ruin the lap early on. And then throughout the 2 weeks of testing, it's just so important to avoid that. And apart from that, you just got to have a lot of mechanical grip, a lot of confidence too as a driver. I think you want to come to a circuit like this, just every single corner, left, right, nail the apex, don't have to think about it too much, and just focus on the hard things like strategy and making passes, which is another thing in itself.
Well, drivers just completing qualifying, but here's the standings as they are going into this round. It's Yoni Silvestre, after a very, very good race last time, 18 points ahead. It could have been a nightmare for him, but he was able to get an 18-point lead there ahead of Simon Maria Marchena, who really had an awful time of it last time and ended up having to limp home in that one. Oleg Furka up into 3rd place ahead of Alex Sadler, just 2 points ahead of Alex, so be interested to see that battle going on. Scott Newton in 5th place with Richard Arnault in 6th, with Kirilis Jorveza in 7th, Scott McIntyre 8th, along with Vita Kanunis. They're both on the same points there in 8th, and in 10th place it's Jan Brezina, who is there at 10th place. It's been a close championship. That championship battle, it was closer at Suzuka, but now, Jonathan, going into this round, there's that little bit of a gap, and Simon needs something of a miracle because his qualifying has been a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, it has. Only P6 at the moment, and there isn't that much time left, just under a minute, so really has to nail it, Simone Maria Marceno, and he's coming through the Vidal chicane, and just making sure you don't run wide. Here it is through the Jaguar bend there, very close to the barrier. That's what you want to do. Probably could have got slightly closer. Let's see if this is very quick in terms of lap time. It is up 1 position there, Paul, so important, but it's not enough against his championship rival Silvestre, who finds himself on the front row. What about Martin van Loosenhoort? Every time he shows up, he just pips the rest of the field. It's unfortunate he's only showed up for 3 of the 10 rounds this season, now 4.
Yep, so as everybody is just rounded up now, they're getting all set for this race. Well, we will head in to look at the grid in just a second's time. Challenging conditions here, but yeah, let's take a look at that starting grid then. It is Martin van Loosenhoorn in pole position with just a 10.5 ahead of Joni Silvasti in second. Alex Sadler in third place with Chris Lazarevic in fourth. Simon Maria Marchena only 2/100ths of a second behind Chris there in fifth, with Eric Andre in sixth. Andrea Boccia in seventh with Josh Thompson eighth. Jörg Kippenberg ninth place with Scott Newton rounding out the top 10. 18 car field for you today. Some big names further down as well. Richard Arnaud, Scott McIntyre, Oleg Kvoka third place in the championship, down in 14th place on the grid, so he won't be happy with that either. And yeah, 18 car grid. It's looking like it's going to be a thrilling race. Of course, 25-minute races here in the RaceSpot SimCup. These Formula Renault cars here on the iRacing service, and well, drivers just all getting prepared, all getting set to get onto the grid now. Make sure that they've got the correct setup applied, get the correct amount of fuel on board, because you don't want to be refueling this car during the race here. As I said, challenging conditions. The temperature, it is 65 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, 73 degrees Fahrenheit on the track. Light winds coming from the southwest, and well, certainly going to be interesting. These tyres, they'll take a lap, maybe 2 laps to get to full temperature with these track temperatures, so it's going to be tricky on these opening 2 laps. You may see a couple of cars just going for a spin here in the early stages, just waiting for the last couple of drivers, and then we'll be all set for this race. Of course, it is round number 11 of this championship. The drivers now will be looking towards that gantry, getting ready for the race. All set, long hold, and away we go then. Green light, and we are off. And it's a good start from Martin van Loosenhoorn at the front there. Joni Silvasti is having to hold a defensive line. Alex Sadler is coming through in third place. Chris Lazarevic also looking to the inside. This is a potential trigger point for the race. We've got drivers going 3 wide through there. Able to keep going though. Everybody's keeping out of trouble here through the Mercedes arena now. We've got out front, Van Loosenhoorn, Silvasti. We've got drivers swapping positions further back on Eric Andre and Josh Thompson have been battling away. Jarveza is involved in there as well. Everybody's made it through that initial sector of the lap, which is good to see, because that's a potential trouble point here in this race. Battle there for fourth place. Sadler, Butcher, Marceno down to sixth place here in the early going here, and he's having to go defensive here down into the Dunlop hairpin round the outside. Oh, Thompson was almost trying to go around the outside. They're checking up there, maybe a little bit of wheel banging going on further back, and well, still side by side further back there with Scott Newton and Eric Andre and Jarveza. And this opening lap here, Jonathan, it's all manic, it's chaotic. Everybody's trying their best to move forward. Just Thompson looking on Marchena, and around goes Thompson then at the start on the first lap. Went for the gap, unfortunately didn't hold it, and that's it through down to last place for Thompson.
Yeah, it's a very dramatic first lap there. It looked like Eric Andre got bashed around by all the drivers around him. He just couldn't find some breathing space. And out up front, though, Martin van Loosenhoorn, he got a clean getaway. That's exactly what he needed. And what about Andre Boccia from 8th on the grid, up into 5th? Brilliant start in that Core Motorsports car as they end the first lap.
And Oleg Kvoka up to 9th place as well, so good grounds gained from there. But out front then, it's Martin van Loosenhoorn in first place. Joni Silvasti in second. He's doing what he needs to do for the championship. Third place, Chris Lazarevic with Alex Sadler in fourth. Looking back, there's side-by-side action here going into the first hairpin. And Eric Andre and Oleg Kvoka battling away, still going through the Mercedes arena now. Kvoka's got the inside line. He's up to 8th place now, is Kvoka. Really good start, opening laps here. Maybe he's set up his car for these cooler conditions. Everybody's still running those. That's really good to see here. And well, we've got, 22.5 minutes remaining in this one. Only on to lap 2, so anything could happen yet. And Jonathan, you've got these battles now. I think this Oleg Kvoka one is the closest battle on track. Although the round goes Andre. Oh, and there's Kippenberg as well around Absolute disaster, absolute nightmare there. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that one on screen. And it was Eric Andre just taking a bit of a wider line. Kippenberg got into the back of him, and around they both went. And Eric Andre got a second hit from one of his teammates in the end there. And Talmon has certainly got some damage from that one. But Jonathan, that's the worry when you're so close together in these cars. Just one little slight mistake, and that can be end of your race.
Yeah, well, that was all Nippenberg. He just went in a bit too hot into the forward curve and collected Eric Andre, who, as I said before, he's out of the race now. He was bashed around all over the place in those first couple laps. Just had no breathing room to settle into a rhythm, and that's not what you want as a driver if you're trying to make progress. But back to some on-track action. It's Andre Bocha, who's very close here.
Oh, we've got a big instant further back.
Yeah.
Scott Newton, Mark Schultz, Erling Talmon, Josh Thompson, Scott McIntyre. Oh, it's just an absolute nightmare. Is that down at the Vidal chicane? And it was all McIntyre and Newton going into that chicane. They were battling between each other, and they were swapping positions, and well, they just didn't account for the tighter exit, and then everybody, they couldn't get around that one, could anybody? The track was just basically blocked in front of them.
Yeah, basically a domino effect, so that couldn't do anything about that, and they just have to carry on. And as we were talking there, Andre Bocha made his way past Alex Sadler, so Sadler falls down another position. But that incident, you can't avoid those sometimes. I mean, some drivers jumping over the grass to try to avoid damage, but eventually, you know, it's just another clumsy incident to start the race. I think drivers just need to find themselves, find that rhythm that they are at their best, and they haven't got into that so far. Here are the battle for 4th and 5th. Bocha, Sadler heading through the Schumacher S. Looks like Sadler, who lost the position earlier on this lap, may have a shot here at fighting back on Andre, who makes his first race this season, his race debut in the Formula Renault SimCup.
Yeah, around the right-hander. Important to carry speed through that right-hander, to carry the speed all the way down here, and Sadler heading towards the Vidal chicane. It's the tight Grand Prix chicane here rather than the GT chicane that we use, so it's another overtaking opportunity. We've seen how bad things can go wrong here, but Sadler gets an excellent exit out of that chicane. Can't quite get alongside there going into the final corner there, and well, just having to sit behind, but he's in that slipstream in the draft now, looking towards turn number 1. It is Van Loosnod still in the lead ahead of Silvasti and Lazarich, and it's this battle here, Sadler and Bocha down towards turn number 1. Sadler's got the inside. If Bocha can hang it out around the outside, he'll have the run, but Sadler has got that job done.
Yeah, the camber on the inside line there, you're able to run the car deep into the corner, hold the line, and that affects Bocha, who would attempt to go for the cutback. And Sadler, brilliant stuff. He's back into 4th now. Has a small twitch there at the exit of turn 4, keeps it together. Now, don't forget here, Paul, Simone Maria Marceno is behind this bunch, and the more they scrap away, Chris Lazarevich in 3rd will break free. And that's not what Simone Marceno needs at this point in time for the championship.
Now, we're normally used to seeing Martin Van Loosnod just absolutely waltzing away at the front when he does these races, but Joni Silvasti is keeping him within a second here. He's just keeping a hold of that draft, just on the edge of that, really. So those two at the front, they're just pulling away from Lazarevich in 3rd. But Lazarevich has pulled out a 1.7 second gap over Sadler and Bocha now, so he's broken the draft there of those guys behind, so it's going to be tough for those to get forward. They need to work together, really, to move themselves forward. And for anyone who maybe doesn't know, Jonathan, how can these drivers, even though they're battling against each other, how can they work with each other to move themselves forward towards that car in front?
Hey, 99% of the time they're not going to work with each other, so you just have to keep battling away, because unless you're teammates, you can't communicate about that. And we saw what happened about 12 hours ago. We were watching a Pro Mazda race, and there was a driver who decided he wanted to work for a couple of laps, and when he realized he wasn't going to catch the other driver in front, then you start scrapping away. So I think the smart drivers will come out in the wash, and that's where you start to see it happen. But most of the time, the bottom line is every driver is just going to battle for position. They're not going to think in terms of how much time they lose to the guy in front. This is what we see in the 3rd person, but when you're in the cockpit, different story.
Yeah, so you got the adrenaline going, you're all pumped up, you want the best result you can get, and these guys, well, that's a little switch there in the exit of the Mercedes arena, so he's really got that car set up on edge, and still these conditions, it'll only be about now that the tyres have really got the full temperature into them. And of course, no tyre warmers on these cars, so
No.
starting from cold, as Jamie Wilson's dropped back a bit in the field, who basically went for a little bit of a wide exit through the Mercedes arena. Nothing really much happening there, so he's just dropped down to 13th there. But yeah, it's this battle for 4th place as they go through the Schumacher S, and do you know what? Sadler appears to be just pulling away now. He has that pace over Butcher, and he's just pulling away, and Massena, really, he needs to start thinking, right, I need to make a move here sooner rather than later, although he runs wide through the left-hander there. That compromises his entry to the right-hander onto the back straight, and he's running even further wide there, Johnny. This just isn't, it's not consistent, it's not clean. He needs to just get his focus back, get his lines right to really pull forward.
Yeah, and this is what, World Championship sim races, which we'll see in a couple times, you hardly see those kinds of mistakes. And so this is where Simone Maria Marcena really needs to be on it if he wants this championship. He can't be affected by the dirty air of Andre Butcher in front. And Andre Butcher, don't forget, more than experienced in the World Championship, so he's got his work cut out for him here in terms of passing Andre, who only until recently was a Coanda SimSport driver, now moves on to Core Motorsports. A lot of politics going on with that decision there, but he's on to better things. Possibly different things is a different way to say it, because Coanda SimSport are going to probably be champions in a couple hours' time.
Well, this is it. Of course, we have got that World Championship Grand Prix Series race coming from this very track later on for you after the two sort of feeder series. Well, not so much feeder series, but support series, which is
Support series, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The Sim Cup, which you're watching now, and then after this will be the Super Cup. The Porsches always provide excellent drama and action on track, and I'm sure around this track it'll be no different, that's for sure. This battle, but carry on, Johnny.
I was going to say, what you're seeing in the head, and there's a few drivers locking up, all that white smoke, that's not really going to affect you too much. You might think they're going to flat spot the tires or something different's going to happen. I think trail braking into a corner like that with that camber is actually sometimes a quick way to do it with a car like this. It isn't going to be too affected by flat spots too much. So you might see that and think, oh, these drivers are making mistakes into there, but they're just trail braking, and the white smoke, it doesn't hurt you. It's not ideal and you don't want it. It doesn't really compromise your race as much as you'd think.
Well, Sadler, I've been noticing, has been gaining on Lazarevic this lap. And in fact, Lazarevic makes a mistake there at the chicane. Hopefully nobody collects him on. And it's Marceno, the championship contender. He's having to feel that steering. Is it fixed? He's heading into the pits. I think his day's done.
That's risky. Yeah, his day's done. I thought maybe he was just playing around with the steering wheel, getting a feel for the car, but that's definitely broken the suspension. And his day's done, and that's potentially his championship done too. It looks like Yanni Silvastri here in P2 may be having to delay something tonight. Just maybe celebrate the championship.
Well, this is it. Do you know what? He'll have word in his ear as well, will Silvastri, and they'll be saying, right, just keep where you are. Don't need to push too hard. Just keep with the leader. I mean, he's 1.4 seconds off of Mike van Leeuwenhoek. He doesn't need to push now. He can just relax. Well, not relax too much, because we saw what happened to the great Ayrton Senna at Monaco when he was told to slow down. So you got to keep the focus up, but he doesn't need to push to the absolute limit now.
Yeah, so he will win the championship at this stage based on the points at the moment. He came into this round with an 18-point advantage, currently for second, should get around 39 points. So will surely win the championship at this stage, and that would be great for Yanni Silvastri. He won't get the win because Martin van Leeuwenhoek is so dominant, but he just has to keep all four wheels on the racetrack. And you know what? Looking at that incident for Jarviza, I forgot who it was. Lazarevic, excuse me.
Yes.
that incident for Lazarevic, he just lost it all on his own, and that's something that you don't want to happen for Enil Silvestri. I think at this point in time, the tires are up to temperature. You're in your rhythm. He won't be thinking about that too much. And drivers who say, I'm not focusing on where he is behind, trust me, they're going to be scrolling through the graphics and trying to see where Simone Marie Marceno is. He knows he's out of the race, and I think right now he's just going to focus on bringing it home.
Well, this is it, and unfortunately that means it's just spread out our field a little bit in this race. So we have still got 12 cars competing in this one, and I'll round out your field then. So it's Martin van Loosnod in the lead of this one, almost by 2 seconds ahead of Joni Silvestri. Third place is Alex Sadler, who's trying to cement his third place in the championship, as he's too far behind really on Marciano. Although saying that, with Marciano going out, Sadler really wants as good a result as possible to get himself possibly that step to the podium at the end of the season. Andrea Boccia in fourth place, with Carlos Yaveza in fifth place, and in fact he's got Oleg Furka with him for company in sixth place. Furka, he's that quiet man. He doesn't really sort of have the out and out qualifying pace, but he has the consistency of lap times through a race. He's got really solid race pace and race craft. We saw him do that fantastic J-turn after making a silly error at Indianapolis. And, well, he's there in sixth place. He's battling for place, of course, in the championship, so he doesn't give up on that one. Richard Arnaud, seventh, with Lawrence Weisskunen in eighth. Nick Bippenberg in ninth, and Scott Newton, who's involved, well, basically those drivers further down have been involved in several instances. Scott Newton in 10th, Jamie Wilson 11th place, and Scott McIntyre down in 12th place. And Kverka and these are pretty much this battle on track. And Kverka, that lap was 10 per second faster than these are in front. We'll see what lap times they have comparing this time. And well, let's have a look at this then. Going across the line, what is the times? Well, it's actually no. Vaser is a little bit quicker this lap. Jonathan Kverka trying his best to catch up.
Yep, definitely. Oh, and in front, he's gone. Vaser spun around, and just as you say that, the commentary curse comes back into play, Paul. And so Carlos Yaveza, hopefully he hasn't. I think the most important now after the spin is your recovery after a spin. That car is not going to be pleasant to drive. He just has to. I mean, this is a real test of his patience here. You don't want to be pushing after a spin to make up any time lost. You're always going 100%. You're just trying to minimize any future spins.
And this is it. He's had that spin, but recovering from that spin as well, he's put a lot of heat into those rear tyres, so he needs to just let them rear tyres cool down a little bit. And that's what you mean. Is that what you mean by not having to push 100% straight away after a spin like that?
No, definitely not. As he locks up into the hairpin, that's fine. Just trail braking, but yeah. The car's unstable. You see so many people, especially, I mean, if you drive the Pro Mazda, it's especially evident there where you have a spin or you have a half spin or you go tail happy out of a corner and then you do the same thing out of another corner, and it's just it exponentially affects your balance. And so you just need to relax for a couple of corners, maybe a lap, make sure the tires are back up to their ideal temperature range, and that's so important as well as a driver. So I think it's a great car to
Butcher's round.
Oh wow,
Andrea's round. He was in fourth place. He's keeping that fourth place. Look, Fucker looking to the inside of the final corner. Doesn't make the move though. Keeps behind for the time being. But we've got a battle on track now, Jonathan.
Yeah, we do. Oli Quirker, who's great personality. The young man's looking to make his way up into P4. He's the highest placed driver in the championship still. Yet to win a race up the inside, possibly. Boucher is confident on the brakes. They head through turn number one. There's that little annoying undulation or the elevation change on the apex there of one that really unsettles the car. So Boucher lost that on the curbs. And that car is not happy over the curbs here. These are some flat curbs at the exit of turn number 4 and 5. Here they come towards 6 and 7. This is where it gets so narrow on the circuit. I'm always so impressed when drivers go too wide through here. And then through forward curve, Quoker misses the apex by a country mile. And he also has to watch out because Richard Arnault is very close behind.
Well, I was about to mention about Richard Arnault being involved there, and it doesn't matter so much missing the apex on the middle of that hairpin. You can sort of V off the hairpin, get the run out of that hairpin. So Dunlop curve, you don't need to worry too much about hooking right down to the inside. You can run that sort of sharper V way, double apex it in that hairpin. But yeah, you've got Richard Arnault behind. He's catching up. He's gaining here, and Kvoka just seems to be just having a little bits of issue controlling that car, keeping it in a straight line. But we've seen with that Vidal chicane, those anti-cup curbs, they're certainly working for these cars.
Yeah. Oh, we've seen so many incidents here this race. There's a lot of tombstones for a lot of drivers. And this time all seamless for these three. The battle for P4 continues away. Here they are through the Jaguar Bend. It's so difficult, that corner, because you just don't know where the exit is. You're really just anticipating. It's all based on your muscle memory. They begin another lap. 6 minutes remaining, by the way. Been a very quick event, to be honest with you. It's flown past. And
yeah, it certainly has. There's been action, you know, even though we've had a little bit of separation in this field because of incidents, there has been action all the time. And well, this one's just a little bit of a slow burner, is this one now, between this battle for 4th, 5th and 6th place, Jonathan.
Yeah, so I don't know what to say on that. It's just, I wish there was more. Well, we've got one more round remaining. Championship's about to be wrapped up soon for Uni Silvasti, but you know what? One more round. Everybody's going to have a bit of fun. No pressure on anybody else. And you know, there are prizes on offer for this series, so there's still a stake to battle for. Or there's still prizes at stake is the better way to say it, not actual stake.
Yeah, do words well, that's for sure. Yeah. Jonathan, I'll tell you what, Kvoka's dropping off of Bertrand is actually going into the grasp of Richard Arnault now. So Arnault, he's now within half a second. He's really close up. You can see the damage to his rear wing as well from that earlier instant in the race that Arnault got caught up in, that his teammate and Eric Andre was involved with as well. These two, this is the battle on track now, 5th place, and Kvoka started down in 14th out of 18 cars, up to 5th place at the moment. But Arnault looking to the inside, just a little dart there. It's just reminding Kvoka, hey, I'm here. I want that 5th place there, Jonathan. He's trying to get into his head.
No, that's always intimidating. Even when you're the driver in front, you expect it, and it just keeps you on your toes a little bit. You just don't know whether the driver behind is confident when they're able to do that. It's just important to get back on the racing line and make a pass, which is what Richard Arnault is searching to do here. Goes for the inside line. Whoa, this is going to be close. Plenty of room given there in front by Ollie Kvoka. They go through the Mercedes arena. Kvoka running wide. He's going to go off the racetrack, back on. Hopefully there's grip there. Locks up into 3. Kvoka is off balance here, Paul.
He certainly is. He's trying everything he can, but you know, huge respect between the two drivers there, giving each other room, giving each other racing room, and this is what you want to see. And Eric Andre down the inside here. It's not really a traditional overtaking spot there, because you need to set yourself up for the right-hander here, heading down towards Dunlop curve. And well, this is where they're heading now, and you can make moves into this hairpin. We've seen moves done time and again, but Richard Arnault, he's trying hard. It's because the teammates, that's what it is. And Arnault, look at him, he's right on the gearbox of Kvoka now. That front wing, that nose, almost buried into the gearbox there of Kvoka. Looking to the outside of the left-hander now. Earlier on the brakes, he's trying to get that little bit of a better line through there, get it out wide. He's now trying to set him up through this right-hander, get the better exit to get the run down this back section towards the Vidal chicane. This is his prime overtaking opportunity. It's where he showed his nose on that last lap, and he's going to have a look here. Kvoka holding the inside line, but not enough. And here comes Arnault down the inside. Oh, they're side by side, and contact between the two of them. And Arnault, he'll be absolutely spitting feathers in that car right now. He will not be happy. He's lost another position. Jarveza has gone up to 6th place now because of that. And well, 2 into 1 on the exit of that chicane. We've seen that happen before today. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's a tough one to judge. I mean, Arnaud literally just turned in on Quokka. Quokka stuck it around the outside. You've got to give him space. The move wasn't done. That's the most important part to think about. And so Arnaud will be furious, but that's a tough one to judge, as I said. Main thing here is that does Ali Quokka has damage to finish this race, and can Carlos Yalviza head his way into the top 5? Very disappointing for Richard Arnaud, who's only finished 3 races this season in the top 5. He had a glimpse at his 4th. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, certainly is. Quokka now having to go defensive. Yalviza, we saw him, he was in front of Quokka before, had that mistake at turn number 1. They're heading down towards the Dunlop curve once again, and he's going to look to the inside here. He's giving him space as Quokka trying to get the run out the corner, but he's not going to get it done. And Yalviza, lovely little move there from him up into that 5th place now, but Quokka, he isn't done with this one yet. They're heading up through the left and right now into the left-hander. Quokka taking that wider line in, trying to get the run, and well, I tell you what, Quokka is trying his best, and Yalviza realises this, Johnny. He's trying to break that slipstream.
Yeah, here they come to the scene of the accident last lap around. Quokka around the outside. This is a repeat of what happened 1 lap ago. Braking battle into the chicane. Whoa, going deep is Yalviza, and way more confident. I think Quokka was much more hesitant, Paul, knowing what happened the previous lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're on to the final lap there. Martin van Loozenhoorn way out, and he's going through the Mercedes arena at the moment. 3.3 seconds ahead of Joni Silvestre. And, well, you have to say, we see it every time, Jonathan, with these Formula Renaults. Once you break that slipstream out in front in the lead of this race, you can then just lap after lap just pull out 2-3 tenths of a second.
Yep, so that's exactly right. And, you know, more importantly as well. Oh, is that somebody? Oh, for a second.
Newton.
Sorry, it's Scott Newton, exactly. Scott Newton off the racetrack at turn 1. But regardless, Paul, anyway, last lap, I just want to quickly talk about Joni Silvestre in this championship. 7 incident points. I know I don't care about incident points. It's a useless stat, but only 7 incident points in a support series. Think about that. I mean, he's been at the front most of the time. He's driven phenomenally and well-deserved this championship at the moment. He actually has a few more corners to go before he wraps up this championship.
Yeah.
But I have to say, he's well-deserved. And it's just unfortunate Mario Marciano couldn't give him a good fight here today. It's qualifying that really did it.
It's all fell apart for Marciano, but, well, through the Vidal chicane for the final time then, into the Jaguar curve for the final time, goes Martin van Loozenhoorn. He's going to come out this final corner, a race winner once again. That is now 2 wins in this series for Martin van Loozenhoorn across the line here at the Nurburgring. Joni Silvestre in 2nd place will take that championship from for the first time ever in this RaceSpot SimCup. Alex Sadler, 3rd place. That should stand him in good stead for 3rd place in the championship. Andrea Butcher coming across the line now in 4th place. And you see that battle, Yalviza and Quokka. They can't separate them really, but it's going to be Yalviza ran out in 5th place with Quokka in 6th. Richard Arnaud wasn't actually that far behind really, considering what had happened in 7th place. Vaz Kununis in 8th. And, well, just waiting for the rest of the field to come through. But, Jonathan, you know, you mentioned about Silvestre taking that championship. And, well, the consistency that he's shown this season is really what's got him that win. Five wins this season.
Yeah, going to celebrate tonight, isn't he? And I think that's a modern-day sim racer, is Joni Silvestre, a consistent, clean racer who gets the car to the end of the race in a fast manner without getting in too much trouble. And whereas we know about 10, 15 years ago, it was all about who could set the best qualifying time, who could hot lap the best. And now as the world evolves, everybody becomes smarter. This is the product we see, and it's well-deserved, the championship. Let's not forget Martin van Loozenhoorn, who won the race. This feels a bit like Brazil 2009. Remember when nobody cared that Mark Webber won the race? It's such a big news in Australia, obviously, because every time Mark Webber wins the race, it's a public holiday.
Well, let's go through the race results then, and it is Martin van Loosenhoorn who wins this one by 3.1 seconds ahead of Joni Silvasti in second. Alex Sadler in third place, that's your podium there, and just look at the gap there, 11 seconds back to Andrea Butcher. So basically, first, second and third really didn't have any issues in this race, and then everybody down had some form of issue during the race. So Butcher in fourth place with Jarvisa in fifth. Kvoka sixth place in this one in the end with Richard Arnault in seventh. Eighth place with Laurenus Weisskununis and Jörg Kippenberg, who we saw involved in one of those early incidents in ninth. Scott Newton in 10th as well, involved at the incident with the Vidal chicane. Jeremy Wilson 11th, and Scott McIntyre, another one involved in that incident at the Vidal chicane, in 12th. That's all of your runners. And then the drivers who did not finish this race. Simone Maria Marchena will be so disappointed with that one. He is out of that race, along with Chris Lazarevic, Aurelian Talmont, Josh Thompson and Eric Andre, and Mark Schultz rounds out your 18 runners here today, Will, and wasn't fully action-packed, but there was plenty to talk about in that one.
Oh, yes, indeed. But we have got a new champion. That one is Joni Silvasti. He takes victory. He doesn't take victory here today, but he does take victory in the overall championship. And Van Loosenhoorn, by winning the race, shows again why he is a dominant figure in these type of cars. We're going to step aside for one moment. When we come back here, ladies and gentlemen, on RaceSpot TV, more thoughts and analysis and the build-up to the Supercup. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, then, to the Nurburgring. The Supercup is in the books with another race, and we have our first ever iRacing RaceSpot TV Formula Renault SimCup champion. That one is the driver of Joni Silvasti. Paul, Johnny, thoughts, go.
Well, that was it was an absolutely fantastic way, and what a way to do it for Joni Silvasti in there. Okay, didn't get the win today, but very consistent, very clean, kept his nose clean, and all the way through the championship. And you mentioned, Jonathan, that he'd only had 7 incidents going into this round. He had 4 incidents in that race, so just over half of his championship total in one race. So it shows that he was pushing, but really, in the end, he didn't need to push that much.
No, he didn't need to do it. I mean, P2 started from second as well. Martin van Loosenhoorn's a tough cookie to catch, so he just had no chance for there. And I think he got it in the end. Here's the biggest part you have to worry about is that whenever a driver goes into a race trying to win a championship, it never goes well. It's always one way or the other. It either goes perfectly and they win, or it goes the opposite, and you end up having races like Brazil 2009, Brazil 2008 in Formula 1. There's so many races as well. What about Brazil 2012? It's all the Brazils here. But
yeah,
the point is that, you know, whenever you go into championship rounds, it never ends well. And that's why Joni Silvasti, happy for it to have a boring race, go on and just be clean, win the championship. Now, next time out at Circuit of the Americas or Circuit of the Car Parks, he can have a bit of fun.
Well, you know, let's talk about sort of like how he ended up winning that championship. And really, Simone Maria Marchena, he'll be ruining these last 2 races. You know, he got a so much damage that he had to just struggle with his car at Suzuka to get it to the end last time out. And then this time, just the most unfortunate thing of having Chris Lazarevic having that incident on his own and just didn't quite avoid his wheel, and that ended his race today.
Yeah, Simone Marino does have the most incidents out of all the drivers out there in the field, and you know what? Still a quick driver, and that's what matters first. You know, you can get the greatest personalities and the most consistent drivers in the world, but they're slow, you know, and you're going to lose. So you still have to have a level of pace and talent that you bring to a team, and I think Simone Maria Marceno has that, and he's got work to do there. He's got work on his consistency, and I'd be satisfied anyway. He's still P2 in the championship, and he's probably got a buffer on Ollie Quirker, Alex Sadler for the next round to seal that second place, but I'd be seriously happy with P2. It's just the fact that we're analysing it in terms of the fact that he had a shot at P1 for the championship.
Well, this is it, and now he's got to fight off that battle for second place, because Alex Sadler, third in the race here today, that will bring him back in towards that battle for second place in the championship. Ollie Quirker, sixth place as well. He's not out of this one yet, so we're going to have an intriguing battle for that second place going into that final round. I just want to quickly go back onto to this race. We saw plenty of incidents, especially down at the Vidal chicane, and I would say one of the talking points towards the end of that race was between Quirker and Arnaud, going in side by side in towards that chicane. Arnaud thought he'd got the move done. Now, Jonathan, the way I looked at it, I've just had a look at it again myself.
Yeah.
Arnaud possibly, I'm not saying he should have, but he possibly could have allowed a little bit of space there on the apex. He just looked like he just wanted to take the apex on the right-hander part of that chicane, and didn't consider that Quirker could still have his car alongside still.
Yeah, I've never understood that, because a lot of drivers blame Ollie Quirker, but he has all rights to stick his car around the outside. And so I think if you're Richard Arnaud, who definitely wasn't pleased after the race reading the chat, he has to clear the driver before you turn in. You can't just turn in on a driver and expect them to get out of the way. You know, Quirker was still battling with him. After the corner, Richard probably just has to give a car width the space to get through the apex, and then once he clears him, bang, straight on. Quirker's doing that to try to impede his exit so he can get another shot across the main straight. And that's why you do that as a driver. I think, you know, firmly said, and this is very opinionated, but he has to give more room there around the outside to Ollie. He hadn't cleared him, and the reason I'm mad is because I've been in that situation in Ollie's position many times, and I don't think it's understood from a stewarding perspective that you are allowed to have your car there around the outside. The other driver hasn't passed you. You are allowed to stay there. You're on the racetrack. Ollie Quirker did nothing wrong. And I think yeah, you know, the gentleman's thing would have just been let Richard through, concede the position, do a Paul di Resta, and let everybody past. No. You know, you want to fight, you want to produce a good battle. Very unfortunate for Richard, though, and I can understand his frustrations. It's very hard. The toughest part you can do as a racing driver is look at an incident from an unbiased perspective that you're involved in. And I think when you look at an incident, have a look at it 1 year later. So in 12 months' time, evaluate what happened. Then you realize, oh, maybe I could have avoided it. And just remember, last thing, I've gone on this point for too long, but the most important thing is, look, even if it's not going to be your fault, it's still avoidable. And I think that's the biggest thing that, you know, Shannon Whitmore preaches all the time. Safety first. That's what we get in the World Championship.
Yeah, and I will say, if you're talking about Paul, you know, if Ollie Quirker's going to do a Paul di Resta impression, then what he needs to be is on a touchscreen for us next season. That's certainly what that'll end up with. And well, looking forward then. We've got the Super Cup coming up shortly as well. That has been a fantastic series as well, and we've still got it on for the championship. 3 drivers, you know, still in for a possible championship result here, a possible championship win. And you know, this Super Cup, it's been fantastic racing. We've seen plenty of action and plenty of drama in that series as well. And well, what a way for it to head towards the end of the season. 2 races left for the Super Cup.
Yeah, looking forward to it. The Super Cup's always been the series to watch out of these two support series. I mean, the Porsche's just, this is what you get in a car, and this is what you get when you're not in an open wheeler car. This is the unfortunate thing, is that in open wheelers, great cars, love to drive them. They're always going to be my forte. But the problem is that most of the time, there's dirty air. Everybody's got downforce. It's hard to make passes cleanly. You can't bump and rub. In a Porsche, big braking zones, heavy cars, everybody banging doors, 7 wide across the main straight. You get all these ridiculous things going on. I don't know about the 7 wide, but I'm looking forward to it today if they can do it. And you get different elements of racing. You know, Formula Renault SimCup, brilliant racing, love it. Porsches, different kind of style of racing, still love it. So I'm not trying to be politically correct, but that's what motor racing is.
Well, I mean, if you look at it as well, the Formula Renaults, they're mainly mechanical grip, but they do take a lot from the aerodynamics as well. Whereas the Porsches, they're not quite as aerodynamically dependent as one of those cars. So definitely, yeah, it produces some good racing, and it's kind of like sort of a mix between GT and touring car racing, isn't it? Really, with these Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars.
Yeah, it's a very long name, but it is a great car. We had it at the ADAC Sim Racing Trophy last weekend. The 8-hour broadcast I covered with Randolph Cheneth, Nolan Scott, and Hugo Luis. That was a big broadcast to do, but it was at the same racetrack, so getting quite used to the Nurburgring. Funny fact, though, about this racetrack with me, Paul, I don't think I've ever actually... I've hardly done any races around here, anywhere. I don't know why. The Nurburgring, I mean, I've definitely raced it before, but it's just one of those circuits where it's just... You know, it's always the Hockenheim when we went to Germany. For some reason now, I just love to race around here. It's a great challenge. I don't think I'd be quick, but it'd be fun to drive around here for sure.
Well, I'm talking from experience. It's a challenging track, that's for sure, and it's not a racetrack that has suited my style of driving. But then again, a lot of people would argue no tracks suit my my style of driving here. But the Nurburgring, it's a tricky track, and I think it's an underrated Grand Prix track as this one as well. In
what way?
Well, I mean, people always talk about the Nordschleife or Hockenheim as the racetracks for Germany, but the Nurburgring has produced some fantastic Grand Prix over the years. I mean, look at Aussies will love me for saying this. 2009, Mark Webber. Look at his win, his first ever race win that he got in the Red Bull. The battle that he had a penalty, a drive-through penalty, still came through and beat Rubens Barrichello and the rest of the boys out there. He had to do that the hard way and produce some fantastic racing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Great race from Webber, that one. I still remember it like it was yesterday. The celebration, the radio message. But it was also the... was Massa holding up the rest of the pack? I think held up Barrichello after the pit stops, and that's what. Now, this circuit's not the easiest to overtake, and that's why I'm a bit concerned for the World Championship race later on today, when you have one pit stop races and the tire degradation is not that big of a deal, and you know what I mean. It's just going to be tough. So you've got the DRS to help too, which we haven't had in quite. I don't think. We had DRS here in 2013, actually, for Formula 1, so we definitely have had experience in the real world. Virtual world, though, it doesn't matter. Different story here. Moral of the story is, it's, you know what? Not to sound political, but as I said, this racetrack's great, narrow, good challenge. Overtaking's tough, but what you'll notice is the drivers who have the skill to overtake will make passes. I mean, it's always obvious why we always see the same drivers making moves, and why there isn't just the calm driver who's never quick, and it's all of a sudden, wow, he's overtaking today? No. It's always the same drivers who have the bravery and have the pace who make the moves. Yeah,
certainly. And, we've been talking about that. One thing, and, we're heading in towards the final rounds of... could bring it back to the SimCup just before we head off. But your thoughts of the SimCup so far then? We've got one more round coming up. It's been really good racing. The Formula Renault just produced fantastic racing.
It does. Love it. Great season so far. I think, as I said, the Formula Renault is a great car to jump into. Not first of all if you're trying to learn an open wheeler. I mean, I jump into the Skip Barber and then the Pro Mazda, but the Formula Renault is one of those cars where it's like the first step towards going to the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. You don't just jump into the McLaren MP430. It's one of the toughest cars to drive in iRacing because it's so well simulated. You've got all the ERS to come into play. Setup's such a big factor too. And so that's why this car is great to jump into. You have great racing action. It's not to the point where dirty air affects everything. I mean, look at the amount of overtakes we got today in such a short, just over 20 minutes race. So, I mean, brilliant stuff. Looking forward to the next round. And I think it's good now. No more championship battle coming into play. Good stuff from Silvasti to wrap it up. Next round, we're going to see everybody feisty, ready to go. Nothing's on the cards.
Yeah, and Will, we'll bring you into this here. It's been a good series so far as a SimCup, and one more race to go. We've got a battle on for second place in that championship.
We have indeed, and that's going to be really interesting to see over the course of the final round of the championship. And let's not forget, actually, that'll be at Circuit of the Americas, a track where these guys will be having a lot of fun. Sector number 1 is all going to be about, making sure you keep off the curbs, like what we saw here today. Sector 2, that long straightaway. And then Sector 3, that basically Turkey Turn 9 of America, that ever-decreasing radii through turn number 18. It's going to be a great race to watch, Paul.
It certainly is, and don't forget hashtag turn 12 down at Circuit of the Americas as well. We've seen all sorts of chaos and drama happen there over the years, and I'm sure we'll get some more next time out.
Yeah, indeed. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step aside for a few moments here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live, and when we come back, it'll be time for the RaceSpot TV Supercup. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Super Cup here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. It's a part of RaceSpot RaceDay. Qualifying has just gotten itself underway, so drivers now have 10 minutes to do a lap to the best of their abilities. A small field here today, Paul, but still, we know what these Porsches can do.
Well, I mean, you just have to look back at when we last had a small field at Indianapolis, and, well, you know, we had great racing there as well, and so you know, it always produces good racing to this car. And the thing is, as I was saying when we were having our chat after the SimCup race, 3 drivers in with a chance of the championship. In fact, I wonder if we could bring up the championship standings, because David Williams is in the lead of this championship then with 375 points, with Mario Bertolotti a further 19 points behind in second, with Joni Häkkinen a further 10 points behind Bertolotti. So there's only 29 points covering those front 3 drivers. Going to be really interesting to see how this one all pans out. And well, Bertolotti, Häkkinen are there, and Williams, yeah, he's in the session as well. So they're all 3 championship protagonists are here for us today. The rest of the championship, Klaus Kivikas 4th place, with Jared Filsell in 5th place. A man who, when he turns up, generally wins, and unfortunately he's not here today, so give somebody else a chance at winning a race here. Scott Lanark in 6th with Matt McDonald 7th, Scott McIntyre 8th with the Jussi Hautala in 9th place, and Joshua K. Rogers in 10th place in the championship. And that's another driver who generally, when he turns up, Jonathan, he wins. Raced 3 times, won twice.
Yeah, he does. Josh Rogers, one of the greatest talents in sim racing. He's definitely been good. And I'll tell you what though, having a look at Mario Bertolotti, and we've just started qualifying, and I'll tell you what, he's very, very much impressed me in this championship. I know it's only a support series, but very impressive. He's done a great job. He's 19 points behind Williams for the championship lead, as you just said, Paul. He's starting a qualifying lap now, and I would not be surprised if he gets his way up into pole position. Well,
seeing as you're talking about it, why don't you talk us through a lap of the track then, Jonathan?
Yeah, definitely. Heading through the Mercedes arena now is Bertolotti. And blind corner here, then you head into the downhill braking zone of 3. This is where you have to trail brake into here. Just the entry opens up quite a bit. Over the curbs into 4 and 5, running wide, picking up all the width of the racetrack, making sure you don't get an off track on the grass. Then it becomes narrow here. This is where all the mechanical grip and the stable front end comes into play. And through the forward curves, the exit is very, very short here, so don't run too wide there. Then heading into the hairpin here, the Dunlop hairpin. Such a fun corner. Using all the camber there. You don't have to hit the first apex, about the second apex there with Bertolotti. Hits nicely, using the curb on the exit and then straight lining this Schumacher S. Let's have a listen. You see, it's definitely not full throttle in the Porsche Supercup. I challenged them at Suzuka. I thought they could go full throttle through 130R. Definitely not. Here they come through 11 and 12. And Bertolotti here, you have to open up this corner as much as possible. Don't dance with the throttle too much. You just want to have a nice linear line up to 100% full throttle. And then heading into the uphill braking zone into the very tight Vidal chicane. You can definitely use the curbs a lot more than you can in the Formula Renault. Screaming his way up into the air is Mario Bertolotti and picking up an off track. That's his lap over. He backs off, Paul, and he almost decided to turn the Nurburgring into an airport.
He absolutely launched the car. And this is the thing with this Porsche Supercup car. As we've just seen, you can hit those curbs. Unlike the Formula Renault, where we were seeing people just going flying off left and right at that chicane, you can hit those curbs a bit more aggressively in this car. It'll still unsettle the car or possibly turn it into a jet fighter, but it's still... It can take those curbs. You can be a bit more aggressive, and we could possibly see a few more moves into that chicane. And by the way, Jamie Wilson, the only person who set a lap time at the moment, so I'm going to call it provisional pole position for Jamie Wilson, 1:59.8. I thought I'd give him a bit of airtime here. for once, because he didn't get much in that last race. So Bertolotti, he's reset back to the pits. Scotland Arc now going into pole position at 1:56.9. So just the 3 seconds faster than Jamie Wilson there, or Dylan Shepherd currently in second place. These guys have got about 5 minutes remaining of qualifying. And when you make a mistake like that, Jonathan, right at the end of a lap, at the end of your hot lap, how difficult is that for you to then have to go, right, reset, let's see, reset my mind, don't think about that mistake?
Well, if you're mentally strong, you don't think about it. I think Bertolotti there backed off. He's like, let's go set another lap. Bang, move on. I think the drivers who say, I made a mistake and I'm going to think about it for the rest of the lap. I wasted a minute and a half. Just get over it, move on, set the next lap, be confident. And I think it comes with experience. A lot of young drivers suffer with that, whereas the more experienced drivers out there are really get over themselves quick. So very important right now. Scotland Arc still at the top of the timing screens. Just want to see if is David Williams out there on the racetrack. Yeah. He is, so it's good to see. He came out on his outlap late.
Yeah, he's on his outlap at the moment. Joni Heikkinen heading down towards the Dunlop curve for his first flying lap. He's not going to get much chance to get many laps in here. 4 minutes remaining, so maybe one, possibly two more laps in this one for him. Through the Schumacher S, then it's a tricky corner. You can so easily pick up a slowdown penalty through there as well. iRacing, of course, will stop you cutting corners. It'll give you a penalty if you do cut corners, if it deems you to have gained an advantage. And, well, it's so easy to pick one up there at that Schumacher S. Through the right-hander then, onto the back section now, heading through this fast-sweeping right-hander. Just about full throttle through there, and then hard onto the brakes, as you say, uphill braking into the Vidal chicane. How's he going to do? Doesn't really clip those curbs much. Back end kicks out a little bit, heading towards this final turn, the Jaguar turn. And well, hug that apex, get on the power nice and early, use as much of that curb on the outside and come across the line. What will his time be like? Comes across the line, bang, pole position.
Brilliant stuff. Go Joni Heikkinen, 56.8, thrilling lap time, and straight back out for another lap. He's feisty, he's ready to go, he's pumped up, he's feeling it. This is the best thing you can do as a driver. I don't think he's going to have enough time, though, to set that next lap, so I think his qualifying session's done. He hasn't timed it right, which is so important here, Paul, because we know the track is going to rubber up more and more over the session.
Alessandro Della Donna then is the next man who's going to come across the line, yet to score a lap completed for times. It's going to be one hot lap. If he keeps on going, he'll be able to do another hot lap straight away. It comes across the line. What's his time? He doesn't set a lap time, so he needs to keep his foot down and keep moving for this one. Now, next car across the line, Scotland Arc. He's just starting a lap here, I believe. Yes, he is. So he's just starting a hot lap for him. And Bertolotti, well, he's got to get the job done. He's coming through towards the end of the lap here. And Jonathan, it's that crucial corner. Carry the speed out there to carry it all the way down towards the Vidal chicane.
Yep, exactly. Straight lining this kink here, the Advan arc, and then into that brilliant uphill braking zone. You letting the gravity slow the car down, makes love to the curb, makes love to both curbs, and he's spun around. That's his qualifying session done. He's going to set a very horrible lap time. Yeah, he needs to just get across the line here just to set a lap time, let alone a hot one. In fact, I think he's just going to pull it over. On. Oh, my goodness. He would have at least jumped ahead of Scott McIntyre, and look who's jumped up the order. So, David Williams into fourth. And also having a look at Della Donna, and then, yep, so Della Donna is also coming towards the end of his lap here.
Michael Ricci as well, coming in towards the end of a lap through the Vidal chicane, and he clatters those curbs as well. I think that's going to be a talking point of our race here today. Joni Heikkinen, by the way, he's not setting a lap time, he's just getting some practice in, but he's out on pole position at the moment, and really, Ritchie comes across the line, 1:57.4. Good lap time. That's put him up in third place for the time being. Della Donna heading towards that final corner now. I think he'll really be the last one to really put in a good lap time here. We've got about 22 seconds left in this session. He comes across the line now. And what does he do? Well, Deladone a 59.1. That's 10th place on the grid. I don't think anybody else is going to set a lap time here. Why would he take you through your race grid then for this round 11 of the RaceSpot Supercup here? And, well, what a grid it is. It's a mixed up grid a little bit. And Joni Häkkinen, though, he's on pole position, 156.844. Second place is Scott Lanark, only 1/10 behind him in that second place. Then Michelle Ritchie in third with Jan Sitowski in fourth. David Williams, the championship leader, is in 5th place. He'll want to get as close to Häkkinen as possible in this one. 6th place, Greg Stewart. Good to see him up there in that position. 7th is Dylan Shepherd with Joni Häkkinen down in Jon Häkkinen, in 8th place. Jamie Wilson 9th with Alessandro Deladone in 10th. Scott McIntyre 11th. And then 2 drivers who didn't set a lap time, Josh Thompson and Mario Bertolotti. Rounded out your grid there, Johnny. And, well, we've been talking about it enough. It's time for the talk to stop and the action to start.
Yep, exactly. 2 drivers ready to go to the grid. And everybody's feisty to go. Come on, where's Joni Häkkinen and Scott Lanark? Moral of the story is this is going to be a great fight for the championship. We have Joni Häkkinen, who's third, starts from pole. Mario Bertolotti will start down there from the 12th position. And David Williams from 5th. They're scattered all over the place, Paul, and we're ready to see those lights illuminate and disappear.
Yep, last few drivers then coming onto the grid now. Lanark's there. And the flights are flashing. He's you're not behind a car yet, Scott. So you get your finger off of that button. But we're all set for this race here. The final of the support races for this week before you get the World Championship Grand Prix Series, which of course you can watch here live on iRacing Live and RaceSpot TV. And Joni Häkkinen, the last man onto the grid, and in fact, he's just going to make it to the grid just in time. So here we go then. The drivers will look at that start gantry, look at those lights. Wait, there's a jump start further back, and Deladone, he's gone out the race, and that's it, he's out. But great start there, number 35 Jan Sitowski from the second row of the grid up to second place, down towards turn number 1. But it's Häkkinen who leads this one. The drivers will all drift wide through there. Jamie Wilson's almost in the gravel on the exit there. Through turn number 2 they go, and it is Häkkinen, Sitowski, Ritchie and Lanark. A terrible start there. David Williams battling away here. There's contact going on behind Williams as well. Williams in 5th place, and we've got drivers swapping positions further back. Josh Thompson, who we saw in the Formula Renault, he's battling away, and Bertolotti, he's stuck behind both of them. He can't move forward at the moment, Jonathan.
Yeah, well, so this is a very hectic start. Contact behind Häkkinen was collected by
Shepherd's round.
Winner as well, that's Dylan Shepherd, and he's going to rejoin the racetrack in the PSR car. Unfortunately for Shepherd, finds his way at the back of the pack, and Alessandro Deladone, comical, accidentally jumped the start, disqualified for that by the stewards. He's out of the event, so just a brain fade, unfortunately for him. He's not allowed to take part for the rest of this event. But that battle for the championship, as we said, Häkkinen currently leading, Williams 5th, Bertolotti 10th. Not much progress made by either of them, except maybe Häkkinen. He had no progress to make. He's still in 1st.
Well, this is it. I mean, Bertolotti started down in 11th place, so he's gained 1 position, but that's because of Dylan Shepherd making the mistake there. David Williams hasn't moved forward, and he's dropping back here. He's already 1 second behind Scott Lanark as they head into the Vidal chicane for the first time. Look at them all clattering those curbs as they go through there. And, well, we're going to see this as an issue all the way through this race. Drivers are going to be hitting those curbs, making the mistakes, but as we go across the line then, it's going to be Joni Häkkinen in the lead of this one. Jan Tedtowski in second place with Michel Ricci in third. Scott Lanark, terrible start from him, down to fourth place in this one. David Williams fifth with Greg Stewart in sixth place. Jamie Wilson seventh with Josh Thompson up to eighth now. Jon Heikkinen in ninth. Mario Bertolotti 10th, still battling away. In fact, we've got a car around and it's Jamie Wilson at turn number one, and I think he's done that all by himself. Yes, he has. Just clipped that bump on the inside of turn number one, and that's just sent him around there. So he's down to the last of the runners here. And Jonathan, it's frenetic, it's fast. Mario Bertolotti, though, he's looking in front at Jon Heikkinen, and he's wanting past now.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for Jamie Wilson. You turn into that first corner and you can't apply the throttle until you straighten the wheel. So it's just a driver error there, unfortunately, for Jamie Wilson. He's got a bit of damage too, so hopefully he can still maintain some pace. It'll be good to see him continue away unscathed. Bertolotti, though, into the Dunlop hairpin. He's close to Jon Heikkinen in front. Getting confused here between Joni Heikkinen and Jon Heikkinen, but we know the difference for sure. One's going for the championship, one isn't. And Bertolotti definitely too optimistic to have a look here into 11. Keeps it together through the left-hander, using the curb. So he has to really set up the moves into the overtaking spots here, which are really at the end of this straight coming up into the Vidal chicane and turn number one, and possibly turn number 8, the Dunlop hairpin.
Well, you can see him, he's looking, he's trying to just make himself big in the mirrors of the car in front. That car in front, Heikkinen has got Josh Thompson ahead, who he's been gaining on. So that one's not done with. Jan Tedtowski, by the way, is getting a little bit closer for that second and third place. Ricci was just catching up there on that last lap as they go across. Oh, that's Thompson! Josh Thompson is around at the exit to the final corner, and you know what? He's done that all by himself.
Yeah, well, so just lost it on the exit. Rear wing damage to go with it. And unfortunate again. So we've seen a few driver errors here to start the race, but you just have to keep your cool. He's having a laugh as well, Josh Thompson. And just trying to laugh off the incident on his radio, and continues away. And it's just hopefully, Paul, that the damage doesn't affect you, because you have to deal with that for the next 25 minutes, and it's such a tough challenge. I think Thompson, that car looks stuffed, so has to continue away. Let's have a look at Bertolotti, though, heading into the forward curve coming up. Still no chance past Jon Heikkinen in front, and I think Heikkinen is actually definitely struggling. It has to be said, Paul. It's just whether or not Bertolotti can get that Porsche in front.
He's not got the sort of out-and-out pace that Bertolotti has around this track, but Bertolotti hasn't been consistent. We saw that with his qualifying laps there earlier on. And, well, as McIntyre actually making a move out the Dunlop curve. McIntyre and Shepherd it is, going into the Schumacher S, and that was close. Bertolotti, meantime, has made the move stick on Heikkinen. He's finally made that move, and I believe Heikkinen got a slow down penalty then through the Schumacher S. I said it can happen there, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's it, Paul. So you got to be precise at the circuit. It's so tough to handle. Not too many tarmac runoff areas, if any. And so driver error can really bite you in the backside. Bertolotti, though, he really likes to play with fire with his curves, doesn't he, Paul? And that's been a talking point throughout qualifying. I don't think it's going to change for most of the race. So important right now, as well, is that Bertolotti is about 5 seconds behind David Williams. Williams a second and a half behind Lanark. David Williams has a good shot here if he can sustain the same pace he's got with just a little tenth every sector. He should reel those four in front in no time. He's only 5 seconds behind Heikkinen for the win. I'll
tell you what, David Williams, that last lap was 1/100th of a second slower than Scott Lanark on that last lap. So it just goes to show how close this field is. And when you look at Ricci, who's ahead of Lanark, he was only, what's that, about 2/100ths of a second slower than Lanark. So it's really tight between those three for third, fourth and fifth place in terms of lap times. But Bertolotti's got his head down here, and already he's caught up to the back of Greg Stewart. So he's got the bit between his teeth. He knows he's got a championship to try and compete for, and at the moment he's trying to gain as many places as possible.
And Greg Stewart, he ran very wide there through the hairpin. Remember, there's different lines we spoke about, Paul. There's the V and there's the tighter line. Generally, I know in an open wheeler, since I was about to prove a very good point, and then Stewart runs wide. Let's have a look at this battle now. I'll talk about that later. Bertolotti up the inside. Whoa, almost door banging. And Bertolotti barges his way through. Good stuff. And what about Jon Heikkinen? He's too far behind to capitalize on that too.
I tell you what, Bertolotti was not giving him an inch more than he could have, because that was really squeezing him on the entry. He's got 5.5 seconds now to David Williams, the championship leader, in front, as he bangs over those chicane once again. He's got to get his head down now. He's really got to push forward. Williams has been dropping back slightly this last lap on the Scotland Narc in front. In fact, half a second slower that last lap. So Williams just struggling a little bit, it seems, around this track in terms of out-and-out pace. Tell you somebody who isn't struggling for pace, and that's the race leader, Jon Heikkinen. He is 1.4 seconds ahead of Jan Sentowski now, who in turn is 1.5 seconds ahead of Michel Ricci in third place.
Yeah, Ricci, strong qualifying, still third, and didn't make too much progress, but it's all about qualifying this race, it seems. Those who were able to set a strong lap time have really made their way up through the field. If Bertolotti was able to get a good lap in, he may have been with this bunch for the top 5. There's still 21 minutes remaining. Plenty of on-track action coming up, and the Porsches have been definitely one of the most entertaining series I've seen, virtual and real world, this year. And heading through the hairpin.
Oh, look back at Greg Stewart and Jon Heikkinen, by the way. They're battling away. Stewart's run wide at the Dunlop curve, and that's going to be, thank you very much. The number 8 car goes through. Jon Heikkinen up a position, up in 7th.
Yeah, he's all over the place, Greg Stewart, so he just needs to find a good rhythm here. And he's in the number 69, just behind the number 8 of Jon Heikkinen, heading into 11. This is where Stewart was passed one lap earlier by Bertolotti. Stewart here has got some pace. Doesn't open the lineup into 12, and you see how much that costs you here, Paul. It's going to hamper him all the way down this long straight. The draft isn't as strong as you think, since it's such a heavy Porsche. And here they go now. Good pass there from Jon Heikkinen, capitalizing on the error of Greg Stewart.
Absolutely. You were going to ask me something there, Jonathan. What was it?
Yeah. Now, which line would you take? A British sim racer, I got to ask, who, very smart sim racers you all are. Would you take
that's a good one, that.
Would you take the V line through the Dunlop hairpin, or
it depends what car you're in. Me personally, because I'm used to an understeering car, I have to hug the apex. You can't do that, and yeah, definitely. I hug you hug that line and then get the exit out the corner. That's what's the crucial thing about that corner is the exit.
What you're implying here is actually there's an apex for me to find, as you've got 2 wide once again between Stewart. We had 2 wide between Stewart and Jon Heikkinen, and it didn't end up changing around. But yeah, you're implying here, Johnny, that there's a line for me to hit.
A line for you to hit? What does that mean?
I can't drive.
No, I'm saying that there's many lines you can take through the corner. So look at it technically from a when we look at the McLarens later in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, it's that if you dial in, if you have a few extra clicks on the front wing, I reckon I'd be taking a tighter line into that hairpin, because you're able to trail brake, and the front end's going to be a bit looser heading into the entry. But if you have a stable car that feels understeery, I'd go for the V. It's not going to work going for that trail brake line. There's different setup comes into play too.
You've almost got to remember the type of car as well. There are cars where, a Formula 1 car, for example, it's all about maintaining an average speed through the corner. In other cars, we call them point and squirt cars for a reason. Pull it to the apex, find a way out of the apex, hit the gas. It doesn't matter really how far your mid-speed corner is in those type of cars. And I think actually that is the difference in what we see on the Formula Renaults, which is more of a momentum. Ow!
round goes Stewart into the side of the Häkkinen. Häkkinen was lucky there that he could just go straight on and take the corner cut. But Greg Stewart, he's having a nightmare of it trying to get going again. I'm sure we'll get a replay up on screen there, but it was a bit ambitious, late on the brakes, locked up the front wheel, and around he goes. And he did well to get out of the way straight away, but then just couldn't get the car quite turned around. He's had to do a little bit of a three-point turn on the grass, and he's back up and in fact he's going into pit road.
Yeah, a very unnecessary three-point turn. I think he was trying to do a burnout and then realized that car wasn't responding to him. That was a very big Jacques Villeneuve moment there going into that chicane. He just had no chance of making his way past. I think he put in so much faith into Häkkinen, leaving him space, but it was a bit optimistic from Stewart.
Are you implying that Jacques Villeneuve would not have made dry sack corner had Michael Schumacher not turned into him there?
No, I'm talking about... Have you seen that nationwide race at Road America?
Oh, yeah.
There was many nationwide races that he was involved in that he was a bit ambitious on the brakes, shall we say.
No, that's fine. I'm not here to trash drivers because Jacques Villeneuve was a very strong driver back in the day, but yeah, just unfortunate for Greg Stewart. He's got a long pit stop to go with it. And
you're a better commentator than he is, though.
Jacques Villeneuve. Yeah. Well, thanks. No comment. Paul, what did you think?
There's a little known fact about me here that I'm going to share with the world. I collect die-cast model Formula 1 cars. I do not have a Jacques Villeneuve car in my collection, and I will never have one in my collection either.
No, that's harsh.
No, I'm never a fan of it. No, I was never a fan of it. I respect him. He won the World Championship in the most dominating car of that season, but I don't think of it. He didn't do things in other cars that maybe weren't of the performance that, say, someone like Fernando Alonso could do in like the McLaren. Drive through problems, as we've got Josh Thompson and Scott McIntyre battling for position down into the Vidal chicane.
Oh no!
These two, they're giving each other space. A little bit of a bang there from McIntyre. It's not all fair in love and war, but do you know what? They're giving each other space. You can lean on each other a little bit in this car. Thompson getting the run out the corner there. Had to get up on the brakes a little bit because McIntyre was holding it to the inside, and that should be Thompson through, should it? Well, McIntyre's got the undamaged car, whereas Thompson's got a little bit of damage on his car. That'll affect his top speed. Down into turn number one, lock of the brakes there, both running a bit deep, and McIntyre goes round. So that's that battle done with.
Yeah, tail happy there on the exit. It's that exit that really catches you out. Now, don't forget, Scott was on the line that was not rubbered in, so he would have expected that rear end to be planted, and obviously the car and the racetrack thought different things. So unfortunate for Scott there, the Canadian, who continues away, and he's struggling here to find himself back into rhythm. Now, while that's all going on, Scott Lanark, Michele Ricci, P3 and 4, they're very close together, but no moves made between those two. The championship battle, Bertolotti has closed in on David Williams for P5.
Yes, he has. Oh, yes, he has indeed. He was a second faster on that last lap alone, was Bertolotti. And I don't know if we'll be able to have a look at some of the previous laps as well. But, well, you look at that. I mean, David Williams on lap 6 did a 2 minutes lap. He's struggling with this car here today. And you compare that with Bertolotti, he's doing 58, 58, 58. He's low 58s as well. Oh, mistake at the Vidal chicane from Bertolotti there on this lap. But he's consistently faster than Williams, apart from just that mistake there.
Yeah, you can't afford that, though. He's lost definitely half a second at least with that mistake. They're going to cross the line this time around. A 1 minute 58.1 for David Williams and a 59.1 for Bertolotti. So maybe even more than half a second lost as they head into the downhill braking zone of turn number 1. And you can see all the tire marks there on the apex. So many lockups here today, Paul, as everybody tries to feel the brake pedal. I'm very impressed, though, by a lot of these drivers out here at the front who have not made many mistakes. They've been driving at a phenomenal pace in the 57s even for Jan Sentowski, and hats off to him. We've seen some good action here. We've seen some clumsiness too in both races, but we've seen it's been balanced out by some brilliant racing and brilliant talent here, so good stuff.
Certainly is, and this is it. Bertolotti, he's got 13 minutes to close down and then make the move on David Williams, so it's not over yet, but they've got to remember that Joni Häkkinen is out in the lead of this one. He was the man in third place going into this round of the championship. Bertolotti, incredibly, has not won a race this season, and yet he's second in the championship. So it goes to show the consistency that he's given in this championship. Williams won one race, Joni Häkkinen two. So Häkkinen possibly, I'm not calling it yet, but possibly could get a third win today if he keeps this up. That battle for third place, though, that's got closer again. 0.6 of a second between Ritchie and Lenark. So Lenark's not giving this one up yet. Bertolotti's not really been gaining much on this lap on Williams, so we'll keep an eye on this third place battle.
But he messed up again in sector 1 of this lap, and I think he might have just overcooked those tyres.
Yeah, he's well, this is it. He's had to push all the way through this race to really get himself up through there. Okay, the track conditions aren't that hot, but if you use the tyres as they go across the line, 57.8 from Bertolotti, but a 58.0. So what's that show that Will Vincent knows about racing?
But he did mess up in sector number 1. That's the issue.
Yeah, so imagine how fast how fast it could have been.
I hate when that happens, by the way, just to interject. They make a mistake, like, oh, he's going to be 3 seconds off the pace. Bang! Lap record or something like that happens. Just always seems to bite the commentators at the backside. I'll tell you what, though, in terms of progress being made on David Williams, only a 10th, just over a 10th that lap. So, he said a quick lap time. It's definitely not quick at all in terms of catching David Williams. So that's why that mistake at the Vidal chicane was so costly for Bertolotti, and that's why now heading into this hairpin he can't afford any more mistakes. He's really on it though. But
Will actually, and I hate to admit this, Will makes a very good point. Yeah. Has he worked his tyres too much? Whereas David Williams, he's not really had to push too much in this race. He's just been in his own bubble, and now that Bertolotti's been gaining on him, he can now just go, right, time for me to react to this, put the laps in now, and that's appears at the moment what he's doing here, Jonathan.
Yeah, that's the thing. I remember we discussed it in the Formula Renault, where if you get tail happy out of a corner, you don't want to be doing it 2 corners in a row, and it gets worse exponentially when you start to ruin these tires with all the lockups and the sliding and all of that kind of stuff. So just remember that what could be fast in terms of testing over 1 lap without making a mistake, you're not going to be driving on rails in a race. You have to set up a car that uses these tires well. You're not going to make too much mistakes. Bertolotti makes a mistake there at the Jaguar Bend, the final corner, and loses some more time. And what a lap time from David Williams, by the way.
I was about to say, look at that from Williams, a 1:57.745. He really is responding now. In fact, that lap from Williams is faster than Bertolotti's fastest lap of this race. Fastest lap of this race, by the way, is going to be Janssen Tau. No, it's not going to be. It's Joni Häkkinen. What a surprise. The race leader, 56.9 is the fastest lap of this race so far. But, Bertolotti, I think, we have to admit, he's got as far up as he may go, and it's just those mistakes have been creeping in. 9.5 minutes remaining in this one. We'll go through your field then. Joni Häkkinen is in the lead of this one, ahead of Jan Sitowski in second place. Michel Ritchie is in third place with Scott Lenark just behind him, about a second behind in fourth place. They're not giving up on that one yet. There's still a chance of that one changing positions. David Williams, we've been talking about, in fifth place, along with Mario Bertolotti. The 2 championship protagonists there in fifth and sixth place. Joni Häkkinen, seventh place, now 13.5 seconds behind Bertolotti, so he's been having issues around here. He's only 1.3 seconds ahead of Dylan Shepherd, who we saw have a mistake down in eighth place. Jamie Wilson, another man who's had a mistake at turn number 1, a victim at turn number 1 there in ninth. Josh Thompson, that mistake out of that final turn, getting a little bit of damage. He's down in 10th place. And Scott McIntyre now, he is, look at that, 20.4 seconds behind Josh Thompson. And I think Scott Lenark has just had an issue and maybe had a slow down penalty on this lap, because he has dropped back from Ritchie by about 1.7 seconds here, Jonathan. And David Williams is right with him now.
That's critical for the championship. Bonus points, extra points. because we know that Joni Heikkinen, he's got one hand on the trophy, but Jan Sendkowski's keeping him honest. Brilliant race from Jan Sendkowski. Sustaining some very quick lap times. Williams into turn 1. Stay on the rubber line there. Good grip there. He's a driver coach for a reason, Paul. I want all the kids to watch this right now. He looks planted. Not many mistakes. Heading into 3. Lock up in front from Scott Lanark, and David Williams creeps closer.
Yeah, he sees that lock up and it's like blood in the water for a shark here. Look at this now. Williams right up on the tail of Scott Lanark. This is going to be a battle. Williams doesn't want to get too involved in a battle there, though. He wants to get this job done straight away, because the more that these two battle, the more that Mario Bertolotti can get involved in this one. Well, Bertolotti's 3 seconds behind Williams now. Williams down into the hairpin. Lanark ahead. Both taking that, hooking that inside line, just going for the mid to late apex there, just holding it, hooking that line through the Schumacher S now. They'll use the curbs on all 3 curbs there. And well, on the exit, Lanark getting a slightly better run through there, through the Schumacher S than Williams. But Williams, you can look at how he's late on the brakes, using the curb on the left now, through the left. Set yourself up for the right-hander. Compromise that left-hander for the right-hander here, because you've got to carry the speed. Williams onto the grass, onto the dirt, through this little right-hand kink, and here we go. He's going to look, and Lanark will hold that inside line into the Vidal chicane, late onto the brakes. Williams not going to be alongside this time, trying to get the run out of the chicane. You can do that by setting them up there, and he's going to have the inside possibly into Jaguar turn, and Williams through he goes. Nice move. Lanark though trying to get the run out of the corner to run it all the way down the straight. That's pretty clever there from Scott Lanark. He's going to carry more speed as he goes down the straight now in the slipstream, looking left, looking right. He's going to go left here, driver's left into that first hairpin. He's trying to set him up through this Mercedes arena, but do you know what? I think Williams has got that job done now.
How many times, by the way, can I just say, how many times has David Williams done the path of the race this season? We talk about him, you know, and his one race victory this season, but I think we've talked more about the spectacular passes he has made. That, Johnny, was just another one of them.
It was. He's very fundamental. He's like the Tim Duncan of motor racing. He's just, you know, set the guy up, send him offline, throw him off a little bit. Scott Lanark, he was gifted by a couple of... I thought Scott Lanark there probably could have... Through the final corner, he just didn't get on the throttle properly. I think he didn't have enough revs there. Probably went a gear too low as they head into the hairpin now. And
I'll tell you now, Dylan Shepherd has lost it on the exit of the Mercedes arena. He's back up and running now. No positions lost in that one there.
And that's the second time Shepherd's lost it. Remember, he lost it earlier on in the race, so not good for him. But yeah, good move there from Williams. I mean, there's a reason why he's leading the championship, and he continues away, and he's actually got a shot here at P3, by the way, Paul.
Yeah, he certainly has. 1.1 seconds between him and Richie. But tell you what, all that battling between the two of them has brought Bertolotti into it a little bit. He's now only 1.8 seconds behind Scott Lanark. So they cost themselves time on that last lap, as through the Vidal chicane they go again. And, well, we've just got about 4.5 minutes remaining of this race. Joni Heikkinen in the lead, only 1.1 seconds. So Jan Sendkowski is keeping him honest, he's keeping pushing. And Joni, he'll work for this race. And if he does end up winning this one, he'll have a bit of a sweat on, that's for sure. But it's this battle now. 3rd place, David Williams. He's seeing just these championship points now, and he's thinking, right, he maybe saved his tyres a little bit in the early part of the race, so towards the end here he can push on and really start fighting for these positions and possibly get a step on the podium.
And again, Ricky in front locking up, and Williams sees that. He's vulnerable now, Michele Ricci. And the storylines to win this race with just over 3.5 minutes remaining is that Joni Heikkinen is under attack from Sendkowski, who looks quicker this lap around. Williams having a look for that final podium position. That's critical for the championship. And what about Bertolotti in 6th? Can he make his way up into the top 5? We know that Thompson and Wilson down the back of the order in 9th and 10th also swapping, but this is the battle we need to focus on here. The 3 championship challengers in the top 6. And every point counts. Every point counts heading into the Circuit of the Americas, the final round.
And as Paul Daniels used to say in British TV, every second counts as they're heading towards the end of this race. Just 3 minutes remaining now on this race. Of course, these drivers, they'll be pushing on as hard as they can towards the end here. Joni Häkkinen, he can't take it easy. He's got to push on. He's got to try and do it. And I'm hearing little skid marks. And that's Scotland Ark who's lost the position to Bertolotti. He lost it through the left hand and just got on the power. And the back end went out from him there. And around he goes. Williams now trying to get that position once again, trying to make that move at the Vidal chicane. Didn't work this time, but Richie, he's got to be really concerned. He wants that podium position. He's trying everything he can to hold on to it, but Williams now looks a man on a mission here, heading towards that turn number 1 now in the slipstream. Williams has got that little bit of draft, a little bit of overspeed, down in towards turn number 1, late onto the brakes. He's hard on the brakes there, but Richie holding that position for the time being. The VRS Quantum Sim Sport driver, David Williams, trying everything he can to get past here, Jonathan. It's just not working at the moment. We've possibly got one more lap after this one, so anything can still happen here.
Yeah, and he's trying to almost bump draft him through the corners. He's very close, David Williams. Richie under pressure. I like the confidence, though, steering into the apex of 1. A lot of drivers give room there, and that's very respectful, but I think Richie was spatially aware. Williams up the inside of Ford, possibly. Brilliant defending there from Michele Richie, but that's going to compromise his exit on the exit here of the Ford curve. Heading into the hairpin is Williams and Richie.
Yeah, certainly are. And Williams is going to look to the inside. Richie, lock up at the front brake, but Williams couldn't take advantage of it. Richie's through, makes contact with Williams. He's up and over his Richie. On his roof, Bertolotti now is making the move on Williams, and that's up into 3rd place for Bertolotti. This one's not done yet, though. These two are still going to battle it out here. Richie has got himself going again. He's landed on his wheels. He's able to keep going. That's good to see for him. Heartbreak for Richie there with that mistake on the exit, the hairpin. But now we've got 2 championship protagonists, 1st and 2nd place in the championship, battling it out here. David Williams in the lead of the championship in 4th place. Mario Bertolotti 2nd place in the championship. In the 3rd place, Williams looking to the outside now as they head into that Vidal chicane once again. He's trying to set up. Bertolotti clatters the curbs. Does Williams gets a fantastic run, almost contact between the two of them, heading into that final hairpin. And Williams down the inside, he's going to try and hold it there, but Bertolotti gets on the power earlier. He can do that with the outside line. We're on to the final lap of the race here, and it's still neck and neck between the 2 championship protagonists. If they're not careful, they could end up taking both themselves out and handing the championship lead to Joni Häkkinen, who's in the lead of this one by less than a second. Williams trying to hold it around the outside. It gives you the inside line for the next 2 corners, and that's exactly what he's got here. Bertolotti's run out wide, and that's Williams through into that 3rd place. Fantastic racing from these 2, but Bertolotti won't give up on this one. They can see this as an opportunity to gain some points off of Williams. It's not over yet, but out the front at the moment, heading down towards Dunlop, Joni Häkkinen is only 1 second ahead of Jan Sentowski as they're heading down towards that hairpin. But it's Williams, Bertolotti still absolutely neck and neck. I don't quite think that Bertolotti has got that pace in that car. The 2 World Championship license holders here heading down towards the Dunlop curve once again. It's absolutely breathless racing here from these 2. Bertolotti's just a little bit poorer through the middle of that corner. He didn't quite get the run out there, and that's dropped him back away from David Williams. Williams going through the Michael Schumacher-esque there, but we'll look towards the front because Joni Häkkinen, what a race from him. Lights to flag. He's got the hat-trick because he's got the fastest lap as well. In towards that Vidal chicane once again, and well, doesn't even touch the curbs almost. Oh, a little bit of curb on the right hand side. 1 more corner to go for the Black Star Racing driver. What a display it's been, but he's had to work for it. Michele Richie, by the way, has been around on this lap, and well, Joni Häkkinen wins this race here at Nurburgring, round 11 of the RaceSpot Supercup. It's still, well, Jansen Towski finishes in second place. David Williams then, it ended up 12.5 seconds behind in third place, with Mario Bertolotti in fourth, and Scotland Arc wasn't that far behind in fifth place. Richie, look at the state of his car after that incident at the hairpin. Contact up and over, his car's a mess, but I tell you what, he's going to drag that round for seventh place. Jon Heikkinen, good to see him in sixth place in the end there, and we've still got battling between Josh Thompson and Jamie Wilson into that final corner. Both drivers with a little bit of damage on their car, and it's going to be Josh Thompson who will come across the line here in front of Wilson. Scott McIntyre is about half a minute behind those two towards the end, but Jonathan, wow, what a last couple of laps there.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover. So first of all, Richie's car, I didn't even think they'd accept that at the auto wreckers. It's that bad. I mean, that car is beaten up from the incident with Williams. He lost it all on his own on the exit. That's the pressure and the intimidation that David Williams produced. Back to that battle between Williams and Bertolotti, incredible. One of the best things I've ever seen, one of the best battles of the season, hands down, brilliant stuff. But it can't overshadow the fact that Joni Heikkinen takes victory, goes in with momentum to the Circuit of the Americas. Paul, this isn't even the final round. Imagine if it gets, Circuit of the Americas is going to be so exciting and looking forward to it. What a cracking race. What a cracking battle there to end.
Absolutely. Well, let's round up your results here then. And it is Joni Heikkinen who wins that race then. 1.3 seconds ahead of Jan Sentowski in second place. David Williams then rounded out your top three in third, with Mario Bertolotti only just behind in fourth place. Scotland Arc, fifth place in the end there. He won't be too happy with that after starting in second place. Jon Heikkinen started 8th, finished 6th, a good result for him there. Michelle Ritchie, he'll be so disappointed making that mistake on the exit of Dunlop Curve, finishing 7th. Dylan Shepherd, mistake in that race, dropped him down the order and he ends up finishing in 8th. Josh Thompson we saw make a mistake as well. He finishes 9th with Jamie Wilson, another one who made a mistake, ran at the top 10. And then the rest of the runners, well, Scott McIntyre, he was the only other runner there in 11th. And then the driver who didn't finish was Greg Stewart, who we saw have that incident and that heavy damage. And then Alessandro Della Donna jumped the start and then retired and couldn't take the start. But Will, breathless, absolutely breathless after that one.
Who says that you need a big field to have a good race? 13 drivers, but what a lot of action we have seen here today. And wow, we've seen the car upside down, getting back onto itself. We've seen passes, we've seen action, we've seen everything here today. And as Johnny alluded to, we've got one more race of the championship to go here, Paul.
It's going to be fantastic, and I tell you what, people may not like racing at Circuit of the Americas, but it does produce really good, exciting racing. And in GT cars and in the Porsche as well, it's going to be absolutely epic. As many people, I would love to see a big field for that final race, because that would be a great way to finish off this season.
Yeah, get your friends, call them up, tell them, Circuit of the Americas, the iRacing, RaceSpot TV Supercup, be there. That is all we got time for then. Well, of course, we have got the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series coming up in just a few moments' time here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live, so don't go anywhere. This is Saturday. Yeah, there's college football on, but that's not for a few hours. This is racing, and this is what we're all about here at RaceSpot TV. That has been Paul Smith and Jonathan Simon. I'm Will Vincent. We'll talk to you all in just a few minutes. Goodbye.